In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can make $10 million every single day in GTA Online. Now, before we get into the video, I want to preface this guide by saying that in order to make this much money in one day without cheats or exploits, it's going to take a lot of time, approximately 8.5 to 10 hours of active grinding to be exact. But with that being said, I've divided this grind into two parts so that it could be done across multiple days if that works better for you. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into it. So to start off the grind, we have to set up two passive businesses so that they make us money in the background as we do other more active money-making methods. The first passive business to set up is the Acid Lab. The way the business works is we purchase or steal supplies. Those supplies then get turned into product, which we could later on sell for a profit. Now, of course, in order to get this business, you have to complete the first dose mission storyline and purchase it for $750,000. And in order to maximize your money, you'll have to do 10 Fooligan missions so that we can unlock and purchase the equipment upgrade for $250,000. Once that's done, all we have to do is head over to Mutt in the Acid Lab or call him up on the phone and purchase supplies for $60,000. And now that we've done that, he will then turn those supplies into product over time while we're doing other things. The second passive business to set up is the Nightclub, and this one's a little bit more complicated, but there is two ways to make passive money with it. But of course, you'll first need to get a nightclub, which you can do on the Foreclosures website. Ideally, you want to get a location within the city, but whatever you can afford will work. Once you've done that, you'll then have to purchase some storage space for the nightclub, as well as hiring 4 technicians in the warehouse section of the business. And this brings us to the first way to make money with the nightclub. Each of these technicians can be assigned to source a particular type of product. And then with time, once you've built up enough of that product in your warehouse, you could then sell it on for a profit. Now, in order to maximize your money with this side of the business, you will have to hire all 5 technicians and assign them to cargo and shipments, sporting goods, South American imports, pharmaceutical research, and cash creation. If you do that, they will generate you just over $50,000 every single hour in passive income. But there is a slight catch. In order to assign them to each of these businesses, you will have to own a corresponding business in the game. For example, for cargo and shipments, you will have to own either a CEO cargo crate warehouse or a hangar. For sporting goods, you'll need a bunker. South American imports, you will need a Coca-Cola lockup. Pharmaceutical research, you'll need a blue stuff lab, and cash creation, of course, you need the counterfeit cash factory. But once you have all 5 technicians hired and assigned to those 5 specific products, as well as having the equipment upgrade, you will be good to go and you will make $50,000 worth of stock every hour. Now, the second way to make money with the nightclub is through the wall safe. A certain amount of money will be deposited into the wall safe every single in-game day or 48 minutes, depending on how much popularity your nightclub has. If you have maxed out popularity, you will earn $50,000 every in-game day. And then of course, the more your popularity goes down, so does the amount of money you can earn. Now, there's a few ways to keep your popularity high with the nightclub, but there's 2 that I think are the best. One is to switch between DJs. Each time you do so, you will get a certain amount of popularity increased in the nightclub. And the second way is to handle disturbances in the nightclub. They will appear as blue blips on your minimap when you go into the nightclub. They only appear when you have relatively high popularity. I believe it's 80 to 90% or higher. So it doesn't always happen, but those are the 2 ways to do it. If you do happen to take care of a disturbance in the nightclub, it will earn you $10,000 and increase your popularity by a decent amount. But with that being said, once you have those 5 technicians assigned and you have your popularity maxed out, you will then be earning essentially $100,000 in passive income about every hour. So those are our 2 passive income businesses set up. Now it's time to get into the active money grind. And of course, the first thing we are going to do is a Cayo Perico heist. This is by far the best way to make money in the entire game, and in order to access it, you will have to own a Kasaka submarine, which does cost $2.2 million. The heist can be somewhat challenging for your first time, but once you get used to it, you can do it fairly quickly. Most people can get it done between 45 minutes and an hour once you get the hang of it. On average, it pays out $1.35 million, and if you need some help with completing it, I will leave a link to my guide in the description down below. But as I said, that will make us our first $1.35 million, and it'll take us about 1 hour. But there is a 2.5 hour cooldown as a solo player for doing the heist, so we have to do some things in the meantime. The first thing to do is the Dr. Dre contract, which should take about an hour and a half, and the Dr. Dre contract can be accessed through the agency, which is another business in the game. Your first time through the contract will take a little bit longer, but for every time after that, the Dr. Dre contract usually takes about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. It is in essence a big heist where you have 3 mini heists and then 2 finale missions where you get the big payday of $1 million. There's quite a few missions to it and it can get a little bit complicated at times. So once again, if you want to see a guide on how to do it, I'll leave mine linked in the description down below. But while the Dr. Dre contract will make us $1.1 million in that hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, we should do some other things during it to make even more money. And those things are payphone hits. Payphone hits are simple assassination missions. You either have one or a few different targets you have to take out. And if you take them out while also completing a specific challenge that's given to you at the start of the mission, you will earn a total of $85,000. Most of these don't take any more than 5 minutes time, so they're great to fit in throughout the Dr. Dre contract, but they do have a 20-minute cooldown. So I do have a suggestion on when you should be playing them. So in order to be the most efficient and make the most money here, there are 5 different times that you should be doing a payphone hit. The first is before starting up the Dr. Dre contract, right after you finish the Cayo Perico heist. The next 3 times are after you complete each leak within the Dr. Dre contract. There's 3 leaks total and they each take about 20 minutes to complete. That's a perfect amount of time for the payphone hit cooldown, so do one after each leak. And the final 5th time is to do it once you've completed the entire contract after the finale. And at this point, we're about 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes into it, and we've already made about $3 million. So the next thing we're gonna do is restock our acid lab, because by now, all of the supplies have turned into product, but the acid lab is not yet full, so we will buy more supplies for $60,000. And then right after doing that, we're gonna get into our second Cayo Perico heist. Now, because we're doing the Cayo Perico heist right after the cooldown has ended, it will mean that the Cayo Perico heist will be on hard mode, which means all loot that you get will have a 10% increase in price, which means we're making 10% more money. And if you complete the elite challenge, instead of making $50,000, you're now making $100,000. So with this second Cayo Perico heist, although it takes us about an hour, again, it should make you closer to $1.5 million. Once that is done, the next thing you'll have to do is go and sell on your acid lab at full stock for $335,000, but we're gonna do it in a public session with 25 or more people, so we do get a 50% bonus. The 2 biggest tips I could give for you for selling in a public lobby is 1, make sure to turn on Ghost Organization through your CEO Abilities tab in your interaction menu, because it does take you off the radar for 3 full minutes. And number 2, check your lobby before you sell. Make sure there's not a bunch of people killing each other in there, tons of Oppressor Mark IIs running around. Make sure it's a relatively safe lobby before selling. But with that sale, because it's 50% extra, you will make $500,000, bringing up our total to just under $5 million in about 5 hours time. And the final thing to do for part 1 of this money grind is to collect the money from our wall safe in our nightclub, which should be at about the $225,000 to $250,000 mark. And that there concludes part 1 of this money grind. This should take about 5 hours to do, give or take, and it will make you just over $5 million. So with that being said, this here is the point in the money grind where we're gonna take the break between part 1 and part 2. Now, I have allotted about a 5 to 12 hour break between the two, because this could be done part 1, let's say the evening of one day, and part 2 being the morning of the next day. Or you could do morning of one day and evening in the same day. It doesn't matter, it's up to you, but I've allotted 5 to 12 hours. And in that time, if you wanna make some extra money, you could do 3 things. 1, make sure your acid lab is set up, you restocked your acid lab, as well as you have your nightclub ready to go, the technician still assigned, and your popularity still maxed out. Because if you go AFK in this period, which means you are away from the game, but the game still thinks you're playing, then you'll be able to still make your passive income while you're going AFK. The easiest way to do this, I found, is if you have a CEO office, go into the office, make sure you disband it as a CEO or as an MC so you don't get a bunch of fees smacked onto you in your time AFK. and then go into your interaction menu, go over to office decor and click on the preview of one of the office decors. Once you're in that preview screen, you'll be completely AFK. You could walk away just so long as your controller doesn't shut off or your PC isn't shut down. You are good to go and leave the game that way, and it will think you're still playing for all that time. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to assume that the break between the two was 5 hours. So when we come back, we're first going to restock the acid lab by purchasing supplies again. We're going to collect the money from the wall safe, which once again should be in the $200,000 range to $250,000. And once again, we're going to then start up another Cayo Perico heist, which should take us about an hour and make us $1.35 million. Just as we did in the first part of this grind, we're then going to do the Dr. Dre contract, which once again will take about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes, make us $1.1 million, and you're going to fit in those extra 5 payphone hits throughout the entire heist. And once we've done those two things, it is now up to you. There's actually 2 ways to end off this grind. If you want to get to the $10 million mark as fast as possible, you could do a Cayo Perico heist, once again on hard mode for $1.5 million, and then collect the money from your wall safe, which will probably be around the $200,000 mark at that time. Also keep in mind though that at this point, we've probably grinded the game for 9 to 10 hours, have had about a 5-hour break, and that means that there should be about $750,000 of nightclub product in the warehouse. But if you didn't want to grind out another heist and you wanted to keep things short and simple, you could do another acid lab sale for $500,000, collect your money from the wall safe, and then sell off your nightclub product, which would get you just under the $10 million mark in a 24-hour or 1-day period. And that there is how you can make $10 million every single day. Now, do I suggest you guys to do this every single day? No, it's a lot of grinding. 10 hours in a 24-hour period is a ton of time. But if you are doing this right before, let's say, a DLC drop or a content day drop, and you want to get as much money as you can possible, this is the easiest way I've found to do it. So I hope it helped. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.